Hello, come on in to Just Connect. Come on in. I am going to welcome you all. I am Dr. Natalie Phillips. I am host of Just Connect, which is a show that I really want to focus on both, connections, growth, but also I will cover some social media info because that's something that I love to just talk about. And then just other things that we can talk about in business. So come on in. This is called Just Connect. I want to connect people to have conversations about some of these different topics. And first of all, before I go on, I actually want to apologize because my video last week, for some reason, was very, very blurry when I watched it back. So for those of you coming in to watch this right now, I want to make sure that send me a comment in, because I can see your comments. I just can't necessarily see my video. To me, it looks like it's clear. But if you see that it just kind of looks strange, send me a comment so that I know. But I want you guys to come on in. I'm going to get some share action, but I also want to talk to you a little bit more about how you can follow me and how you can know that I am going live. So I want to make sure that if you are already following me on Facebook, that you are able to know when I go live. So how you know when I go live is on this page, Dr. Natalie Phillips. I want you to make sure that you are able to not only follow or subscribe or follow me, but go under that link and see and click on see first and turn on notifications so that it tells you that I'm going live. And that's going to be super duper helpful. Another way that you can find me is if you are on YouTube. I post everything on YouTube. It live streams as well. So another way that you can follow me would be if you were to go to YouTube, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. And not only that, but you also want to turn on your notifications. So you want to turn on your notifications and make sure that you are able to see that I am, they're posting a new video. And then I kind of share this out in different groups. And so I wanted to just make sure that I review that with people, because I wanted to make sure that if you're missing it, that those are some of the ways that you can catch me live. I am also kind of just sharing out in some different groups so that we can get some people here at the same time. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about as you guys are coming in is, just this going into 2020, not only are we heading into a really new decade, but it's also that we're focused on the term 2020 as vision, right? As like seeing 2020. So it made me think a little bit about just the 2020 vision and going to the doctors, going to get your eyes checked. So I don't know if any of you are like me, but it's kind of funny because I put going off to see the doctor till the end of the year. And, being in the medical field, I laugh because it's something like, okay, here comes all the people coming in and, we're kind of seeing everybody, we're rushing around by the end of the year because everybody's trying to use their health savings account, which is totally me. So I do that. But, I thought about when you're going in to get your eyes checked, right? Because we're going to talk about 2020 vision and we're going to talk about just focusing, right? What are some of the emotions that go through your head, or who are you? I'd love to hear what you go through when you're actually going to go get your eyes checked. So for some people, you might be nervous, right? Because for me, heading into this advanced age where they tell you that when you reach a certain age, you need to put on, or you need to probably use some readers. That even though you get checked, and you get new prescriptions for either glasses or contacts or whatever it is, you might still need readers, or you might still need trifocals or bifocals, And so going in, sometimes I get a little nervous because getting at this advanced age, I know my eyes are not going to necessarily go back to 20/20 vision, and they're not going to be completely focused in, even though, that we want it to. So my last appointment at the end of the year, because I put it off, was something like this. The doctor said to me, I can fix your eyes so that you can see really far, but then when it's time to look at something right in front of you, you're going to have to put your readers on. Or I can fix you where it's not as clear far, but you don't necessarily have to put readers on. And so, there's lots of different emotions going into the eye doctor when you're getting your eyes checked, because for me, nervous because I'm getting to a more advanced age. And so, it made me think about entrepreneurship too. Just because you're turning a certain age, is that going to stop you? Is that going to stop you from actually doing what you need to get done? Hopefully not, right? Then you're looking at not just maybe are you nervous to get your eyes checked, but maybe you're anxious because, you don't know how to answer the questions. When they put that thing in front of you and they ask, okay, is one better or is two better? Is two better or is three better? Is one better or is five better? And you're like, oh my gosh, too many choices, right? Or you're thinking, I really don't know how to answer that. Like I'm getting really anxious because it's darker, but I don't know if that means it's clearer or maybe it's wider or, but is that clearer? So how am I supposed to answer the question? Is one better than two? Well, it's all a matter of preference. And so again, talking about entrepreneurship, it made me think about, is there a right path? Is there a right answer when it comes to being an entrepreneur? And do you see multiple options and outcomes? Or do you start to get anxious because there's too many options, right? And you don't know how to answer that. And you get nervous because you don't know if it's the right answer. So that made me think about that as well. Okay, another possibility when you go get your eyes checked is that, one option that I've been given is they can correct your eyes for seeing really close and then the other eye for seeing really far. Okay, that really freaks me out. So if that's one of you and you're like, oh no, I love it, please put it in the comments because I'd like to know. But they always give me that option of like, okay, well, we could correct one eye so that you can see really far and then one eye that you can see really good. But I feel like that's going to throw me off and like my brain's going to be thrown off. But again, going back to entrepreneurship, if something is different, if this is a new way of doing things, and that's what the eye doctors are finding out for you, is that going to stop you? And what's the worst that could happen if you did try something? For me, if it were the contact thing, the worst that could happen is I hate it and I go back to what I was doing, right? And so, trying something different, is that going to stop you? Right. And again, all of these emotions, I'm really getting to this topic of being focused and how we can focus better in 2020. And then the last emotion that I was thinking about that we get would be maybe you're excited because when you walk in to that doctor's appointment to get your eyes checked and to get a new prescription, maybe you're excited because you're actually going to start to see clearly again. And so it made me think about 2020 vision. Everybody's talking about, yes, maybe it's a new decade. Maybe we're talking about 2020 vision and focus and everything like that. So I thought I'd kind of jump on as well and talk a little bit more about focus, but I wanted to take it a little bit different. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about focus in a different way because I think that it's important to not only think about how we're going to focus on maybe some short-term goals, because for some people it's so hard to see in the far future, right? And so sometimes short-term goals help. Sometimes long-term goals are also helpful so that we can keep our eye on the prize, right? So I wanted to go over some short-term goals of how we can stay focused. And then we're going to talk about some long-term goals as well. So the first one that I had thought about was a short-term goal. And this all came from an article that I had found from Fast Company. And they talked about short-term goals in how to focus and how to keep your focus. And the first short-term goal would be to set up your day the night before. And what that means is that you take basic decisions that you're going to make every day, and you start to think about that the night before. So again, things could be as simple as what you're going to wear, what you're going to eat, what you're going to pack for lunch, whether you're going to go out for lunch, whether you're going to make some healthy choices. Maybe it's a decision to not check your email or your social media until you get more of the important tasks done. So, think about your day the night before and try to make some of these decisions beforehand so that you get into this good habit of removing these easy decisions in order for you to avoid getting sidetracked, right? And so that's going to help you not get sidetracked and not waste your time and your energy. So that's number one, is short-term goal. Number one is to set up your day the night before. Okay. Second short-term goal would be maybe do the most difficult things first. So, again, you might have a list of things that might need to get done that day. Tackle the hardest things first because they're not going to go away. So you might as well dig in when you're fresh and you have some good energy, and then tackle the other things. So that might be a good short-term goal, is as you're looking through the day and you make your list of things to do, tackle the things that are harder first. So that way, you get that out of the way and you can then focus on some of the other things that you need to do. All right. Short-term goal number 3 would be eliminate distractions and time wasters. So a lot of these things, when we're thinking about things that come up during our day when we have to get things done, emergencies will come up all the time, right? So emergencies will come up, but most of the things that distract us won't necessarily be emergencies. They won't be real emergencies, but they might ask that we respond right away. So here's the hard thing about responding right away. When a text comes in, or somebody asks you a question, and I'm guilty of doing this too. So I have to say I'm jumping on this bandwagon because I'm not the best at this, because I feel like when something comes in, the fastest thing for me to do is to respond right away. So then that way it goes out of my head and I don't have to worry about it anymore. But the problem with responding right away means that it opens yourself up to getting even more requests or more questions or more whatever it is that people need your attention. So sometimes if you kind of maybe glance at that text and you decide, okay, I'm going to answer that later. Okay. It might help you look a little bit more strong-willed and even focused, and maybe even busy. So that way they know, or people that are reaching out to you know that, okay, well, she must be busy. She will get back to me at a certain time. And that's just setting yourself up to, or setting people up to understand that you will get back to them. Definitely have that integrity of getting back to somebody. But you may not necessarily always have that emergency response where you have to respond right away. So eliminate the distractions and the time wasters, and maybe respond a little bit later. And I know that's hard for me too. So, it's one of those things that I have to work on. All right. Short-term goal number 4 is to regenerate and refuel to keep your energy up. And I've talked a lot about this, about just stepping away, getting up. That's all you have to do. Maybe you're going for a brisk walk. Maybe you're just getting up and walking around the house and grabbing something, like some water downstairs, or grabbing a snack or something like that, right? But just getting up, stretching, in order for you to sit back down and focus will help. Maybe it will also help if you arrange your meals and when you exercise. That way you don't have to think about it, but just kind of keeping that energy level up will help. And that's another short-term goal. All right, the last short-term goal that I have before we head into some of these more strategic long-term goals would be to have constant reminders of your long-term and ultimate goals. So I've talked about this before again, and I think it's super important if you do vision boarding to have your vision board somewhere where you see it. So yes, you can hang it up somewhere where you see it all the time. Put it in your closet, put it in your bathroom, put it somewhere where you see it. Another great way when I have taught vision boarding is to take a picture of it. Take a picture of it and have it on your phone. Put it in your favorites in your pictures, because that way you're able to pull it up right away, right? I used to carry around even a piece of paper that I copied my vision board on and put it in my wallet. So there's lots of different ways that you can keep, if you're vision boarding, it in front of you, but it needs to be a constant reminder. Other ways that I've talked about keeping things in front of you would be maybe you put sticky notes on mirrors, when you're getting ready, or things like that, so that you have reminders or affirmations or something in front of you, so that way you remember some of these long-term goals, or you remember these inspirations and affirmations so that you do reach these long-term goals. Another way that I've talked about that I absolutely love is to set an alarm. We have phones that you can set an alarm, and when the alarm goes off, it can be maybe a little saying or a couple of words that will remind you to stay focused on your long-term goals. So those are some of the ways that I love having some different ways that you can remind yourself. Maybe it's just talking it out loud. Maybe it's just giving yourself an affirmation in the mirror before you go to work, things like that. And so try to keep constant reminders of your long-term goals in front of you at all times. Okay, so now we're going to shift to more strategic, what I would call long-term goals that you can work on to reach this major goal, or to keep focus on this vision for the whole year. Number 1 is to know your core values and beliefs. And I've talked about this before because I am learning it too. I'm learning it too, that once you're able to define and identify your core values and what you believe in, it's going to make your decision-making process very quick, as far as, do I say yes or no to that? Or, if you're still struggling, it will say, you can ask yourself, is what that request coming in, does that really help me get me to where I need to be, right? And so knowing these core values and these beliefs and having them totally like laid out in front of you, and maybe you carry that around, right? It's going to help you make these decisions. I have somebody here that says, Aiden Kirchner, thank you for joining me. He says he uses Pinterest for my vision board. Awesome, because Pinterest is a great way to tag things, to pin things, right? And then to also make sure that you can carry that around. So that was long-term goal strategy number 1, where you have to actually sit down, step back and say, okay, these are my core values and my beliefs, and that's what's going to help me make my decisions. So there's a little bit more work going into these more strategic goals, but I think in the long term, it's going to help you as you continue throughout the year. Long-term goal number 2, set aside and spend time on things that will get you to your goals. Now, in the short-term goals, we had talked about just getting up quickly, right? So that you can kind of walk around, re-energize a little bit, refuel with a snack or something like that, stretch. That's something different, because then you're going to sit right back down and focus. This type of set aside and spend time that I'm talking about is really thinking about, you know, maybe the conferences or the summits or the classes that you're signing up for or that you're attending. Make sure that the ones that you are planning on this year are ones that are going to take you to those goals as well. So don't just kind of go to a conference necessarily because you have to go, you know, or you feel obligated to go, but make sure maybe you branch out and you go to a conference that is really calling you and saying, okay, if you go to this, you will learn X, Y, and Z, and that's going to help you reach your goal by the end of the year, right? So that's what I'm talking about. So set aside and spend time on things that will get you to your goals, but I'm talking about bigger things that you're looking at. Maybe 1 conference a year that you can plan, or 2, doesn't matter. That it's going to be something that might be totally different, but it's going to get you to your goals. So that's a long-term goal number 2. And then the last one that I had was to be strategic. Be strategic. Okay, so what that means is not only are you planning to, I'm just going to move that up there. Okay, so not only are you planning to attend some of these conferences or summits or classes, but don't just show up to show up. Now, I have to backtrack a little bit, because those of you who have followed me for the last year, and I've talked about this, some of the things that I did tell people to do is say, hey, that looks interesting, right? So that looks interesting. I think I'm just going to show up. I might not necessarily know what I want out of it, but I'm going to put myself out there. And that's how I did it, right? That's how I did it in the beginning. Was I thought something was interesting, so I just decided to, you know, attend or show up. And I did give you guys that advice last year, but this year, when we're heading into 2020, focused on vision, focused on really trying to make sure that you get to your goals by the end of the year, I want you to be strategic. I want you to step up your game and be strategic about, if you do go to these conferences or these summits or these classes, you know, whatever you're planning to put yourself out in, that you are strategic, which means you don't just show up, but you have a plan. You have a plan of who you might want to meet, who you might want to talk to, maybe a number of people you might want to network with, you know, what do you want to do when you get there? You know, things like that. And so just up your game a little bit more and be strategic as far as putting yourself out there. Okay, so my challenge, okay, I'm going to try to put these back up so that we can look at this again. My challenge is, I want you guys to identify at least 1 short-term goal and 1 long-term goal that you can commit to doing right now. Okay, so I'm going to head back, put these up again. Short-term goal number 1, set up your day the night before. Easy decisions, right? You can do this. You can do it. Commit to doing at least 1 of these short-term goals that I'm going to review, and then 1 of these long-term goals. So set your day up the night before. Number 2, short-term goal, do the most difficult things first when you're looking at your list, because that's going to be when you have the most energy and you're the most fresh, right? Short-term goal number 3, eliminate distractions and time wasters. Make sure that when somebody reaches out to you, do you really need to get to that right now, or can it wait? Okay, so that's the next one. I have a really good friend I have to just interrupt. Corey Workman, good to see you. And he says, bullet journal has helped with goal setting. Awesome. So Corey, put up there, exactly what do you do in your bullet journal? Do you have actually a book, and do you just kind of bullet? Do you check it off? What do you do with your bullet journal? So I want you to put that up in the comments if you can. And then we'll kind of go back here to short-term goal number 4. Regenerate and refuel to keep your energy up. So while you're focused, I want you to spend some time getting up, doing something, maybe for a few minutes, and coming back to help you get focused. So that's a short-term goal. Last of the 5 short-term goals would be have constant reminders of your long-term goals. So whether that's in front of you, whether that's on your mirror, whether that's a picture on your phone, whether you're setting alarms, right? Whether you're speaking out loud, anything that you can do, sending yourself these messages to connect, any type of charge, emotional charge or connection that you can make will help remind you that you have a bigger goal for the rest of the year. All right. So then we head into, so those are the 5. So pick one of those 5, and then we head into the long-term goals. Again, pick one of the short-term goals, pick one of the long-term goals. The long-term goal is to know your core values and beliefs. If you have not sat down and actually written out what is important to you, you need to do that. That would be hopefully my choice for you, because I think that it's so important to know that going into 2020 with your vision and with your focus, because that's going to help you make your decisions. Long-term goal number 2, set aside, spend some time going to conferences, summits. These are bigger things that actually get you to your goals. So be strategic about what you're picking and what you're planning to do this year to get yourself out there. And then the third one would be being strategic once you get there. So not only do you show up for something, but be strategic. So with that, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and joining me. And hopefully you guys can share with somebody, whether it's me, whether it's somebody here on the feed, a short-term goal and a long-term goal that you can do. So thank you again. I'm so glad that I can be here to talk about focus into 2020. I can't wait to see you guys reach your goals this year. And thanks for joining. So I will be back here next Monday on Just Connect, 5 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for joining. All right, bye.